time, there's a couple of things that I'd just kind of like to get all of your opinions on. And I think the first one is, again, there's a lot of different points of view here. There's a lot of change in the cross-screen measurement landscape. What are your one or two maybe pieces of advice for any marketers in the audience who are kind of trying to navigate this? Kind of what would you tell them they need to make sure they ask or think about as they're thinking about measuring the KPIs for their video efforts? John, you want to go first?
I mean, the one thing I would say is that marketers need to get smart and they need to own their own destiny. So I think there are a lot of people out there that will tell you, oh, things work this way in mobile, or things don't work this way in this platform or that platform. And when anybody ever tells you things don't work that way, that's when you should have some real questions, because these are people that are generally serving their own interests. And I think marketers really need to get smart and control their own destiny when it comes to how this stuff is measured and bought, because you can speak with your money, and that essentially will set the standard.
Good. Don't be afraid to take leadership and ask for what you need. I think that's really great. Courtney?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's to the point earlier when we were talking before, is thinking about things beyond just your general reach frequencies and your GRPs. So recognizing that and knowing what your consumer is doing. Who are your target audiences? What are they doing when they're consuming video content? We know from a lot of different work that we've done, they'll just pick up whatever device is around. They're fairly device agnostic, especially the younger generations, where they want to watch a video. If their smartphone is next to them and it's on, it's booted up and ready to go, they'll pick it up and watch it there because it's ready and it's waiting for them to use. And they don't care so much about screen size or things like that. And so being able to take that into account, as well as things like attention, and recognizing that those multi-device usage is happening all the time. It's well reported. There's been a lot of work on it. A lot of the cross-device panels are reporting the same thing in terms of total amount of time people are spending with media is dramatically going up because they're using these media at different points in time. So capturing that attention and having creative that captures that attention is really key to keep that focus on that primary video versus going somewhere else and doing something else or walking out of the room or opening different tabs on a browser.
I guess I would say that just because something is measurable doesn't mean it's important. I think we believe in accountability. We're accountable to our subscribers. We're accountable to our advertisers, and our advertisers are accountable to the programmers and to everybody. It's a circle where everybody is responsible for somebody and accountable. And so we need to work together to figure out what are the metrics that are really important and figure out how to measure them. And there might not be a single set metric, but kind of figuring out what's right for these clients and on these platforms. Because there's so many metrics, but a lot of people are promoting their own inventory with their own metrics, right? And we're agnostic, whether you want to be on Viacom or you want to be on ESPN, whether you want to be on online or on mobile or on social. We sell all those and we're agnostic. We're just trying to figure out what's the best measurement tool for the client, not we want to sell what we're selling. And so that's why we lead with this metric. Our metric is success for the client.
Yeah. Pete, your takeaway?
I think this is all yes to all this. Definitely yes to all this. I would just add, based on everything we just heard and how smart we're getting at kind of reaching our core customer in this personal world, I would just put it back to, I know it's hard to do, but I would put it back to the creative, because now that you're getting a lot smarter and more direct with that one-to-one relationship, it's more on you to get it right as far as the message is concerned. So if you're all going to find out who your audience is in this certain area, then I would actually have creative for them. Not platform-wise, but if it's a demo you're starting to target and you know where they are and what they're doing, speak to them, because it's one-to-one now. So to take your national spot and run that across your entire targeted buy, you're not going to get the attention you want, which is engagement.
So being ever more focused on who you're trying to reach.
I mean, I think I've seen like the Geico ads or even like the Hotels.com doing the subtitles, like little things like that. I know it's not easy to do, but those are the things that are going to get someone's attention when it's on mute or when you're running around outside.
And yeah, that's really interesting. We actually have time for maybe one, maybe two questions from the audience. Go ahead. I'll repeat it if the mic doesn't make it too.
So Courtney mentioned a stat in her comments about basically distraction, and you mentioned what sounded like an incredibly difficult challenge to get to millennials, just as an example. So this is actually a question for John. John, let's assume viewability is taken care of and the ads are viewable. What's the Mindshare approach to dealing with distraction for millennials?
I mean, I think it comes down to content and context. What is it that you're showing in what type of environment? And I think messaging has a huge role to play there. I think it's right when we talk about millennials, you're talking about 18 to 34. Well, a 34-year-old looks at things and acts much differently than an 18-year-old. So we really start with the people, right? And we understand sort of what their motivations are, what their consumption habits are like, and we craft media around that. Now, a lot of that is what type of content are we adjacent to, but some of that is what type of content are we showing.
Yeah, Pete, I'll actually kick the same question to you because MTV knows from millennials like few other media companies in the business. How do you kind of recapture their fragmented attention?
Just by being smart when we talk to them, right? John's point is exactly right. There's two sides to millennials. There's the youngsters and adultsters, right? And we are very vocal, and our brands have equity in the social space, right? MTV has something to say about today, about pop culture. So we are users first. We keep building that equity based on what we're saying and how we're doing across all platforms. So yes, we pay attention to what's driving them so we can create shows that are about their world, but then we also spend time with them in a world that they live in all day long. And it's not always a happy world. You know, being a Facebooker in high school, there's all your anxieties and fears are coming to life in a news feed, right? You can't just pop in and say, tune in to Teen Wolf tonight. You know, you got to be an involved user in that world, almost speak that native language of that platform. And once you get buy-in and authenticity, then you start to be able to push the needle and then drive them back to what we believe is true for them. And we've done it over and over again. We've done this since '81 with videos on television. Those never existed before. Why show up, right?
Yeah.
So I think it really is about knowing who the audience is and knowing how to speak to them.
Yeah, you made me think of something that I sort of wanted to ask, and then it didn't end up on my notes. But I think of distribution in a very screen-centric kind of way: mobile distribution, PC distribution, TV distribution.
Right.
But these days, Facebook is a distribution channel, and there's a bajillion of them, right? There's other
Hulu is
right,
also.
and that could be Hulu on mobile, it could
Right.
be Hulu on desktop. There's a bunch of different ways to distribute content. How does that affect how we measure all of this and try to get back to audience metrics or advertiser-related metrics? I mean, is it just kind of more of the same as far as the problems to solve, or does it change things more than that?
I think it's harder because we look at YouTube and Hulu and like the Fly Clip and other syndicated partners as we would look at Time Warner Cable or Comcast on TV. I mean, we're going to get scale where people are watching video. But each one of them has a different way of serving a video and measuring a video. Some people don't even allow viewability in that platform. So how do we have a holistic buy with our clients with a media mix and include where we're killing it on YouTube? How does that fit? Because at the end of the day, does the client lose if their sponsorship is running across all screens? A winning moment is in YouTube on our channel, and it just got 2 million views that day. It ends up being non-ad served, and nobody wins.
Yeah, Courtney?
And I think it comes down to too, like looking at, and to the point about being more complex and measurement across the board. When you think about frequency and frequency across devices, that's a big issue. And being able to dedupe accurately across those devices to see how many times is someone actually seeing this one type of creative spot, because a lot of work that we've done and more recently around mobile video specifically, there's a lot of frustration from a consumer standpoint that they're seeing the same ads over and over and over and over and over again, largely because a lot of different advertisers are simply putting their TV creative on all the devices and calling it a day.
Right.
And
or
so that's
programmatically buying it on
correct.
all of the video exchanges.
Right.
And
Or not
Correct,
all the devices,
correct.
or just on desktop, where when you're buying this kind of video, this premium content, and you're running it only on one platform, and you're spending more money, you're going to run into frequency.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Great.
that's frustration from advertisers too, right? Because, I mean, a lot of times when you do some of those digital buys, you expect that to be adding reach to your television buy. And when you look at the numbers, in fact, you're adding a lot of frequency.
So that's kind of where we step in, right? Because we're at the other end of that. We're at that box. So we are able to see, again, the experience across all the different channels and all the different platforms, right? Everything maps back to the MAC address, which is getting kind of geeky for a second, the address for the set-top box, and then the IP address, which is the address for how people access the internet. So all those things map back together, and being able to manage frequency across those two addresses will allow you to kind of get that true incremental reach and managing that frequency across platforms.
Excellent.